vedo e più mi piace, ma in quel cuore non son capace. Vieni affetto ad ispirar. Essa legge, studia, impara, non da cosa essa idiota. Io son sempre un idiota, io non so che sospirar. Quanto è cara, quanto è bella, ah, quanto è bella, quanto è cara. Più la vedo e più mi piace, ma in quel cuore non son capace. Lievi affetto d'inspirar, in quel cor non son capace. Lievi affetto d'inspirar, in quel cor non son capace. Lievi affetto d'inspirar, lieve affetto. In quel cor non son capace. Ah, non son capace. Lieve affetto ad inspirar. La mente mi rispiara, che mi insegna a farmi amar. Chi mi insegna a farmi amar. Ah, chi mi insegna? Ah, chi mi insegna a farmi amar? Chi mi insegna a farmi amar?
Yeah.
mia ragazza, occuperò la piazza. Alcuni istanti concedi ai miei guerrieri al coperto posar.
Ben volentieri, mi chiamo fortunata di potervi offerire una bottiglia.
Obbligato, io son già della famiglia. Attenti, marcia! Una parola, o Adina.
L'esata seccatura e solerte sospir. Faresti meglio a ricardi in città presso tuo zio, che si dice malato e gravemente.
Il suo mal non è niente appresso al mio. Partirmi non possio. 1000 volte il tentai.
Ma se dimori e lascia il altro,
e che mi importa?
Morre di fame e senza appoggio alcuno.
O di fame o d'amor, per me è tutt'uno.
Ondvi, tu sei buono, modesto sei, nel parco il sorgente ti crede certo di ispirarmi affetto. Così ti parlo schietto e ti dico che invano amor tu speri, che capricciosa io sono e non da brama che mi tosta nel muoio appena è desta.
Adina, e perché mai?
La richiesta. Chiedi a loro
Dunque odeggio.
Oh, l'amor mio, credi non star facendo a me.
Carolina, non possio.
Non puoi, perché? Perché? Perché?
Perché? Perché? Ieri al rio perché gente dalla balza ove pedita corre al mar che a sé l'invita e nel mar se'n va che lo trascina un poter che non sa dir, un poter che non sa dir. Morir com'esso, ma morir seguendo te.
Altrove a te concesso.
Ah, possibile non è, no, no, non è, no, no, non è.
Per parir di tal pazzia, che pazzia l'amor costante, de seguir senza via, ogni ricambiar d'amore, come chioro, scaccia chioro, così amor ne scaccia amore. Tal guisa io me la godo, e tal guisa lasciate il cuore che vuole, e il cuore, e tal guisa lasciate il cuore che vuole, e il cuore, e tal guisa lasciate il
Ah, che sola io vedo, sento, giorno e notte in ogni oggetto, d'obliarti in vano tento, il tuo viso sculto in petto, col cambiarsi qual tu fai, può cambiarsi ogni altro amor, ma non può giammai il primiero uscir dal cor. Uscir dal cor. Uscir dal cor.
Well, Adina urges Nemorino to lighten up and find somebody else, but he remains hopelessly in love with her. We're in the middle of Act 1 of Donizetti's L'Elisir d'Amore, The Elixir of Love, live from the Met. And in just a few minutes, we will have the entrance of Dr. Dulcamara.
Well, he's an extraordinary creation. Unlike most basso buffos, Dulcamara's not the butt of a joke, but a complete character, a charlatan with a heart. His catchy opening aria is filled with clever patter, listing all the ailments his potion can cure. Asthma, rickets, infertility. It just dazzles this rustic crowd.
Including Nemorino, who's thrilled to get his hands on a bottle of the doctor's love potion. In their duet, Dulcamara keeps spinning out words at lightning speed, but he drops an aside in there to let us know that it's just a bottle of Bordeaux.
But Nemorino pours out his gratitude in a soaring, heartfelt tune, blessing Dulcamara. Meanwhile, the good doctor is remarking that in all his travels, he's never met such a fool.
Dulcamara explains it'll take 1 day for the elixir to start working, just enough time for him to get out of town. Nemorino impatiently takes a few big swigs. Suddenly filled with liquid courage, he sings a little ditty while making a big show of ignoring Adina.
And this becomes a duet. He's gloating that she'll be in love with him by tomorrow, while she's puzzled and infuriated by his apparent lack of attention.
When Adina promises to marry Sergeant Belcore in 6 days, Nemorino just laughs. He's not worried. He's got plenty of time. But then the regiment gets orders to leave the next morning, and all of a sudden the wedding is moved up to tonight. Well, now Nemorino panics and begs Adina to wait just one day.
Yes, Adina, credimi. Believe me, you cannot marry him. You'll regret it. Nemorino bears his heart in a poignant melody in a minor key. And when Adina repeats his tune, well, this hints at her true feelings.
Belcore becomes furious, but Adina defends Nemorino, calling him just a love-crazed boy. Still, she ups the game a little more and calls for the notary.
And the act ends with a rapid storietta for the whole ensemble. The villagers are excited about the wedding feast, while poor Nemorino is crying out for the doctor to help him.
Yeah, who of course is nowhere to be found.
Of course.
We'll hear in order of vocal appearance Ildebrando D'Arcangelo as Dr. Dulcamara, Matthew Polenzani as Nemorino, and Pretty Yende as Adina. Davide Luciano is Sergeant Belcore, and Ashley Emerson is Adina's friend Gianetta. Domingo Hindoyan conducts the Metropolitan Opera Orchestra and chorus. Well, this scene is set in the village square with cafe tables and carts. There are buildings on either side and a church in the background. Dulcamara's carriage is covered with ornate gilding, and the back is covered with a dark curtain, which he flings aside in a theatrical flourish when he appears. So let's get back and hear Act 1, Scene 2 of Donizetti's L'Elixir d'Amore, The Elixir of Love.
Attenti, non fiatate. Io già suppongo e immagino che al par di me sappiate io sono quel gran medico, dottore enciclopedico, chiamato Dulcamara, la cui virtù preclara, e i portenti infiniti son noti all'universo e in altri siti. Benefatore degli uomini, riparator dei mali, in pochi giorni sgomberò io spazzo gli spedali e la salute a vendere per tutto il mondo io ho. Compratela, compratela, per poco io ve la do. Compratela, compratela, per poco io ve la do. Compratela, compratela, per poco io ve la do. E questo l'odontalgico mirabile liquore dei topi e delle cimici possente distruttore, i cui certificati autentici bollati toccar vedere e leggere a ciaschedun farò. Per questo mio specifico, simpatico, prolifico, un onsequagenario e valetudinario, nonno di 10 bamboli ancora diventò, di 10 o 20 bamboli fin nonno diventò. Per questo tocche sana, in breve settimana, più d'una afflitta vedova di piangere cessò. O voi matrone rigide, ringiovanir bramate, le vostre rughe incomode, con esso cancellate, volete voi donzelle, bellissima aver la pelle, voi giovani galanti, per sempre avere amanti. Comprate il mio specifico, per poco io ve lo do, per poco io ve lo do, per poco io ve lo do. Da bravi giovinotti, da brave vedovette, comprate il mio specifico, per poco io ve lo do. E nuovi paralitici spedisce gli apopletici, gli asmatici, gli asfitici, gli asferici, i diabetici, guarisce timpanitidi e scrofoler rachitidi, e fino al mal di fegato che in moda diventò. Mirabile per i cimici, mirabile per il fegato, guarisce i paralitici, spedisce gli apopletici. Comprate il mio specifico, poi vedove donzelle, o giovani galanti, per poco io ve lo do. Avanti, avanti, vedove, avanti, avanti, bamboli, comprate il mio specifico, per poco io ve lo do. Sì, sì, per poco io ve lo do. Sì, sì, per poco io ve lo do. Sì, sì, per poco io ve lo do. L'ho portato per la posta da lontano 1000 miglia. Mi direte quanto costa, quanto vale la bottiglia? 100 scudi? No! 30? No! 20? Nessuno si sgomenti. Per provarvi il mio contento, dissi amico accoglimento, io vi voglio buona gente uno scudo regalare.
Uno scudo veramente più bravo non si può dar, non si può dar, non si può dar.
Ecco qua, così stupendo, si balsamico elisire, tutta Europa sa che io vendo niente men di 9 lire. Ma siccome pur palese io son nato nel paese, per 3 lire a voi lo cedo, sol 3 lire a voi richiedo. Gaetano, musica! Così chiaro e come il sole, e ciascuno che lo vuole, uno scudo bello e netto in saccoccia faccio entrar. Uno scudo bello e netto in saccoccia faccio entrar, in saccoccia faccio entrar. Ecco, 3 lire, avanti, avanti. Ani patria il caldo affetto, gran miracoli può far. Ani patria il caldo affetto, gran miracoli può far. Gran miracoli può far. Gran miracoli affetto, se miracoli può far. Di patria, il dolce affetto, gran miracoli può far. Sì, sì, può far, sì, può far, sì, forse il cielo mandato espressamente per mio bene quest'uom miracoloso nel villaggio della scienza sua voglio far saggio. Dottore, perdonate e perché possediate segreti portentosi sorprendenti. La mia saccoccia è di Pandora il vaso. Avreste poi per caso la bevanda amorosa della regina Isotta? Che cosa? Voglio dire lo stupendo elisir che desta l'amore. Ah, sì, capisco, intendo, io ne son distingatore. E che è vero? Sì, se ne fa gran consumo in quest'età. Oh, fortuna! E ne vendete ogni giorno tutto il mondo. E quel prezzo ne volete? Poco assai. Poco? Il secondo un zecchin, null'altro qua. E la somma che ci va. Prendetelo, dottore, prendetelo, dottore. Obbligato, supplici son contento delisire di tua bontà un benedetto chi ti fa. Obbligato, supplici son contento delisire di tua bontà un benedetto chi ti fa. Obbligato, supplici son contento delisire di tua bontà un benedetto chi ti fa. Obbligato, supplici Ehi, dottore, un momentino. In qual modo usar si puote? O riguardo, pian pianino, la bottiglia un po' si scuote e poi si sfura, ma si vada che il vapor non se ne vada. E quindi all'altro lo avvicini e lo vedi a centellini. L'effetto sorprendente non è tardi a conseguire. L'effetto sorprendente non è tardi a conseguire. Non è tardi a conseguire. E sul momento, a dire il vero, è necessario un giorno intero, tanto tempo sufficiente per cavarmela e fuggire. E il sapore eccellente. E portò non elisir. Obbligato, son felice, son contento, elisire di tua bontà, benedetto chi ti fa. Obbligato, son felice, son beato, elisire di tua bontà, non ci dà, né quali obbligato, silenzio, sai, silenzio. Silenzio, oggi di spaccar l'amore è un affar che lo sa assai. Oh, sicuramente è un affar che lo sa assai. Impacciarsene potria un tantino autorità. Dunque, silenzio. E non la fede mia, e al girare mal saprà. Silenzio. E non la fede mia. Silenzio. E non la fede mia. Neanche un'anima il saprà. Ma mortale fortunato, un tesorietto dannato, tutto senza femminino, vedo mal sospirerà. Ma mortale fortunato, tutto senza femminino, vedo mal sospirerà. Ah, dottor, vi do parola, io verrò per ora sola, né per altra, che sia pur bella, né una stilla avanzerà. Ma non mai puramente anima bella, a costui mandato va. Veramente amica stella, a costui mandato va. A costui mandato va. A costui mandato va. Ma silenzio, ma silenzio. Non te ne e la forza lo sa fare. Ma non me ne farò e non me lo tesoro di te. Ma silenzio, ma silenzio. Però forse lo sai fare. Ma non mani buona, non me lo tesoro di qua. Caro Elisir, sei mio, sì, tutto mio. Com'esser de possente la tua virtù, se non bevuto ancora di tanta gioia, già mi colmi il petto. Ma perché mai l'effetto non ne posi vedere prima che un giorno interno sia trascorso? Bevasi. Oh buono, oh caro, un altro sorso. Oh, qual di pena in pena dolce calor mi scorre. Ma forse anch'essa, forse la fiamma stessa incomincia a sentir. Certo la sente, e l'annunzia la gioia e l'appetito che in me si risvegliò tutto in un tratto. La 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 la.
Che mai quel matto traveco, oh innamorino, così allegro e perché?
La la la, diamine, ed essa, ma no, non ci appressiamo dei miei sospiri, non si stanchi però. Tant'è, domani adorarmi dovrà quel cor spietato.
Non mi guarda neppure, come cambiato.
La 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 finora amor non sente la 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 la
vuol far l'indifferente
finora amor non sente
vuol far l'indifferente
finora amor non sente esulti pur la Barbara per poco alle mie pene domani avranno termine domani m'amerà la Barbara domani m'amerà sì m'amerà esulti pur la Barbara per poco alle mie pene per poco alle mie pene domani avranno termine e ver la metto in opera così per una prova dimenticarli io spero si estinguerà fra poco ancora un giorno solo e il cuore guarirà un giorno solo
si vedrà
e giuti pur la Barbara poco le mie pene domani avranno termine domani m'amerà esulti pur la Barbara esulti pur la Barbara domani avranno termine domani m'amerà.
Bravi più soli, soli, sentilo.
Sì, che m'amerà, sì, che m'amerà. Un giorno solo,
Davvero?
uno sol, sì, esulti pur la Barbara, per poco le mie pene. Domani avranno termine, domani m'amerà. Esulti pur la Barbara, esulti pur la Barbara, per poco le mie pene. Domani avranno termine, domani m'amerà. Domani avranno termine, domani m'amerà. Sì, che m'amerà, sì, che m'amerà, sì, m'amerà, sì, m'amerà, sì, m'amerà. E qua quel seccatore in quella è di amor tratta,
E ben gentil sergente, danza, viene sciolta.
difese bravamente e il mano le battuta.
E non vi dice ore che presto tenera.
Lo volessi amore
Vedrete che vorrà.
quando saria possibile a mio dispetto io credo avendo mio pennangelo quando ci sposeremo
Prestis,
che sento ma quando
prosegui.
gioia son contento gioia son contento la sera son contento va ben, così. Che cosa trova a ridere? O testo scimunito, o non lo piglia scopole. Se non m'avvia di qua, va bene, o non lo piglia scopole. Se non m'avvia di qua, che cosa trova a ridere? Cresce nessun'aggi, che cosa trova a ridere? Cresce così, o non lo piglia scopole, o non lo piglia scopole, o non lo piglia scopole. Se non se ne vedrà, se ne attesta, se ne attenderà. Scopole, lo piglia scopole. Ma te, che sai già, con la romanza, se si mangia, però che cosa vuole se non a mia vita se non a mia se non a mia però a mia però la mia scopole se non a mia se non a mia scopole quello che mia scopole se non a mia vita se non a mia scopole se non a mia vita se non a mia scopole io che mia scopole se non a mia vita se non è stato e che tal fretta sono io qui una stretta il capitano va bene tut camerati partir conviene partir e quando doman mattina. Si presto. Afflitta è la di. Espresso è l'ordine. Non so che far. Arremitissima, combinazione, aver se stesso i guarnigione. Come la notte, abbandonar. Anima udistino, pari a chi, almeno ricordati del nazione. Sì, domani ne vedrai la nuova. Mantenerla, tu sei disposta, che non anticipi che mai ti costa. Fin da quest'oggi non puoi sposarmi, fin da quest'oggi quest'oggi, oh Adina, quest'oggi dici. Aspetta almeno fin domattina. Ecco, vediamo, quest'oggi no. Babbuino, che matto ho preso tu sei dal fino, ti avrei strozzato, ridotto in brani, se in questo istante tu fossi in te, in pinchio tempo, a fredde mani, ma via buffone, ti ascogli a me, ma via buffone, ti ascogli. Ah, dottore!
Il ragazzo
buffone! Aia!
mezzo pazzo
Abbuino!
ferito in
Il figlio te via buffone! Annetta ragazze, vi aspetto a ballare. Un panno da chiedo, e poi riposare. Tutto
Well, poor Nemorino, he's in despair. In spite of that elixir of love, Adina is planning to marry Sergeant Belcore. Well, that was Act 1 of Donizetti's L'Elisir d'Amore, live from the Metropolitan Opera, starring Pretty Yende, Matthew Polenzani, Davide Luciano, and Ildebrando d'Arcangelo, conducted by Domingo Hindoyan. And in just a second, we're going to go backstage where our HD host, Susanna Phillips, is going to be talking with our Adina, Pretty Yende. And that great red skirt she's got hiked up a little bit on the side, a big black belt, white blouse, and she was working that top hat. He stole it from her a couple of times there, didn't our Nemorino?
It's fun to watch them together. There's so much interplay, so much chemistry between them, and vocal chemistry as well. So much elegance in the singing that they share. It's really quite a wonderful pair.
And here we go.
Our soprano, Pretty Yende. Hello, Pretty. You
Hello.
are so beautiful in this part.
Thank you so much. It's such a joy for me to sing Adina. I mean, she's such an earth woman. She's powerful and full of strength. And in this production with the hat, I think it works out.
She's like so many of the other parts that you've sung here at the Metropolitan Opera. So many feisty heroines. I mean, what makes this role such a good fit for you?
I think she's more powerful than them all because she's not looking for love. She has has it and she wants to give it. And that just puts her in a more powerful position, where else the other girls that I usually play are dreaming of love, of an escape, to have a better life. But she has it and she just wants to share it. And this is something that's more powerful for me. And the way Donizetti wrote it, there's so much sincerity. So it triumphs in that sense that each and every character has that sense of humanity, and we get all of that, which is really fantastic.
You sing so many multifaceted characters here. I mean, you've sung Countess Adele in the Conte d'Ori, and you've sung Pamina in the Magic Flute, and Rosina in the Barber of Seville. Adina marks your live cinematic debut. Your family must be watching in South Africa.
Of course, I was just talking to my mom, and everybody's just rooting for me. This is a big, big moment for a girl who just dreamt of this wonderful chance to perform and express the joy and the gift of the voice, and to have this opportunity to share it with so many people around the world. It's a dream come true.
I understand that growing up in South Africa, the route to the Met stage right here must have been unusual. How did you become an opera singer?
Well, it's a very wonderful journey, which I can happily share it now because of all the great moments that I've had since I started the journey. I remember the first time I heard about opera, it was the first time I was, hearing this wonderful, powerful music over the British Airways advert. And that for me was a turning point,
A commercial?
The commercial.
Oh,
and
my
they were
goodness.
using the Lakbe duet. So for
Wow.
me, that was like another, door opening that I never knew it was humanly possible. So for me, it's been really, really a roller coaster, which I'm very grateful for.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for speaking for me, and toi, toi, toi for the next act.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Now I'm going to speak with our Nemorino, my wonderful colleague, Matthew Polenzani. Hi, Matthew.
Hi, Susie. So how long have you been singing, Musette? Oh, no. Wait a minute. I'm wrong. You ask. I forgot. Okay, go.
Well, okay, so explain this to me. So
All right.
Nemorino goes from being very, very happy to being very, very sad
Yep.
on a dime.
Yep.
How do you do that? Is that hard?
Well, no, I mean, Donizetti helps.
Right.
The story helps. It's. Plus, I've been singing it a little while, and man, he is this kind of guy already. He's such an easygoing, singular-minded guy, and the one thing he's looking for in this world, it hasn't happened, and he's still fighting for it, and boy, he thinks he's finally got the answer. He's got the thing that's gonna turn everything. And when it doesn't work, he's destroyed. He's
Yeah.
destroyed. I hate the end of this act, actually. It's so sad.
Aw.
But it's all right.
This is the part that you have sung over a span of 15 years here on the Met stage and also all around the world to great acclaim. But what is it like to revisit that part over and over again? Does it change? Does it
Oh, most
evolve?
definitely. There are definitely things, even from the first time I did this production to this time, that are a little bit different. And of course, a lot of that has to do with who you're singing with and who your colleagues are, who's in the pit, the way things go. All that stuff changes depending on the moment. And one of the cool things is having experienced this production in quite a few different places. Well, you pick up little things in each place. I've mentioned it before in an interview on Sirius where they were talking. I was just saying, I didn't really realize that Nemorino doesn't have a lot to offer her. It never really occurred to me, because shouldn't love be enough? I think love's enough, isn't it? Most of the time love is enough, but it's not always enough. And sometimes you have to add, there's something else, a little element or something has to get there
Right.
that hasn't got there yet for him. So, I don't know, I picked that up, and other little things you find, how it is, you're going around the world and trying different people's ideas and
Right.
see what different things go like.
Try different things on and see what fits and what doesn't.
Absolutely. And some things work in some productions that would never work in another production. It just
Right.
sort of depends on what you're doing and how you're doing it.
Yeah. Well, coming up, you have one of opera's most beloved arias,
Oh, yeah.
Una fortiva lagrima.
Beloved by everybody, and not just not people who are listening, but tenors love to sing it too.
Why is that? Why do you love to sing
it's way gratifying to sing.
Why?
There's something about, there's a couple things. One is, it's in minor. It's in a minor key.
Yeah.
Part of it anyway. And we only get 2 moments of minor for him. Adina credimi, which we just heard, and this. And it's got a different feeling, and there's an inner joy that's different from his outer joy that we get throughout most of it. Some of it because he's drunk and some of it because it's who he is. But this inner joy, this discovery of the fact that she loves him, oh man. And then Donizetti, he just fills it out so great. It's
Right.
really gratifying to sing and really fun for me. I enjoy it.
What is the essence of this character for you? Is he a comic? Is he a romantic? Is he simple-minded? What is?
It's a
what is he to
rom-com.
you?
That's what it is.
Right.
It's a rom-com. No, he's funny. He's a funny guy by nature, but he's also a romantic.
he's lacking words. He lacks something that
Polish.
polish. I don't know. I mean, or she lacks vision, or I don't know. You know, I mean, it's typical tale of two people trying to come together that, you know, like the stars haven't aligned yet. And he's most definitely, I don't think of him as a dummy. He's not dumb. He's just single-minded. He's got an idea, and that idea has got to be fulfilled. And it's not just some idea like, oh, I'm going to build a car, oh, I'm going to, you know, build a table or whatever. He's got an idea that's coming from the heart, and he's got to let it out.
Well, I cannot wait to hear you let it out in the aria coming up. So
Me
go
too.
rest up.
Hang on, wait. I want to say hello. Want to say hello to Annabelle and my parents, and I want to say hello to my friend Carl, who hasn't heard me sing for live since like high school senior year or something like that. Awesome to see you. I'm glad you're there, and I hope I'll see you guys all soon. Okay, thanks, Susie.
Bye. Thank you so much.
That was our HD host, Susanna Phillips, speaking with two stars who were rather shot out of a cannon.
I would
Matthew
say.
Polenzani, our Nemarino, in today's performance
I'll
of
have
Donizetti.
what they're having.
Yeah, really, L'Elysir d'Amore. And before that, she was talking with Pretty Yende, who's our Adina.
You know, it's interesting, actually, what they were talking about. What Matthew was talking about, I have been watching this opera since 1965, I think it was.
Wow.
With Mirella Freni and Nicolai Gedda, Renato Scotto, Carlo Bergonzi. You see these different pairings, you see these different dynamics. A Donizetti comedy like this is so rich with subtext that you can actually pull out all of these thoughts and ideas from it without sounding in any way pretentious, because it's there also in Romani's brilliant libretto. So you have this comedy, but you do have all the depth, and then you have all the possibilities of different interpretations.
And you could see that on both Pretty Yende and Matthew Polenzani's face all the way through Act One, how deeply they were into these characters and listening to each other.
Yep.
Every single word. I'm Mary Jo Heath. Commentator Ira Siff is here with me. Later in this intermission, Susanna Phillips will chat with Davide Luciano and Ildebrando d'Arcangelo, who are playing Sergeant Belcore and Dr. Dulcamara, respectively. But before that, we're going to hear from Susanna herself. I chatted with her a few days ago about her upcoming performances as Musetta in Puccini's La Bohème. Don't go away.
And we will return to New York very shortly, but right now they're having their advertising break.
John Wilson conducts a programme of great British music, including Elgar's heart-wrenching cello concerto, written shortly after the First World War, and Walton's spirited First Symphony. Elgar and Walton, live in concert, next Thursday night at 7:30, and then available on the BBC Radio 3 website.
Good evening, I'm Chris Barrow, and this is BBC Radio 3. And as I say, we'll go back to the Met in just a few moments' time. Meantime, though, just a reminder that you can have a browse through the opera on 3 pages of the Radio 3 website. The schedule of the Met broadcast is there, along with details of all of Radio 3's live and recorded broadcasts from British opera houses. There are lots of details about each opera, including production photos, full synopses, and casting information. And you can listen again to at least 4 programmes right now. Don't forget that we also broadcast an opera each Thursday afternoon at 2 o'clock. And this coming Thursday, Kate Mollison presents Granados' one-act opera Goyescas, which premiered in 1916, and it will be performed by the BBC Singers and Symphony Orchestra. There's also a new recording of Florence Schmidt's Antony and Cleopatra Suite No. 2. That's this Thursday afternoon from 2 o'clock. Now let's return to the Met in New York.
Venezuelan conductor Domingo Hindoyan made his Met debut this season, leading L'Elysir d'Amore. When Hindoyan began working at the Berlin State Opera just a handful of years ago, this was actually the second opera he ever conducted. It quickly became a favorite for him. He says he admires the way Donizetti and librettist Felice Romani broke new ground.
Donizetti, when he writes Elysir, it was his confirmation and was a big success. And it has a special signature, which is that it's the beginning of the tenore di grazia or singer di grazia. It means it does not have all these coloratura and fireworks all the time. Our tenor in Elysir does not get to extremely high notes or extremely speed and soprano either. and it makes some mellow in the sound, at the same time being a comedy, something that Rossini does not have. Rossini, when it's a buffo, is sparkling all the time. Donizetti has this sparkling spice everywhere, but has also this beautiful melody moments like the Adina Credimi, like Furtiva, like Prendi, all these things that you don't find in Rossini. It does not stop like Rossini a few years before with the arias and cavatina and cabaletta and then applause. It goes in one shape, with one exception. In the second act, when comes the aria Furtiva Lagrima, it's like a piece out of nothing, and in fact was written after. Donizetti wanted to add this aria, and Romani didn't want to, and then they have a little fight, and then Donizetti won. And you see that before and after is like a little brackets, there's now this aria, a special moment.
Maestro Domingo Hindoyan, who's conducting today's performance of Donizetti's L'Elisir d'Amore. For the Met, I'm John Bischoff.
We're live at the Met, where we're listening to L'Elisir d'Amore by Gaetano Donizetti with a libretto by Felice Romani. This production is by Bartlett Shear, the sets are by Michael Jurgen, and costumes by Catherine Zuber, and lighting by Jennifer Tipton. The revival stage director is Gina Lipinski. The production was a gift of the Monteforte Foundation in honor of Wim Koiker. The chorus master is Donald Palumbo. Musical preparation is by Linda Hall, Gareth Morrell, Vlad Ivtinka, and Leora Maurer. The assistant stage director is Kathleen Smith-Belcher. The prompter is Vlad Ivtinka. The Italian coach is Hemdi Kafir, and the stage manager is Christabel Langen. Well, Ira, it's lovely hearing Susanna Phillips host today's HD transmission. But soon, she's going to return to her day job. She's singing Musetta in our production of Puccini's La Bohème. And I had the pleasure of chatting with her about that recently.
Yeah, remember she made her Met debut as Musetta in 2008, and it's been fun to watch her revisit the role over the years, even when she's expanded her repertoire. And, well, who can forget how riveting she was last season in Sariaho's L'Amour de Loin?
Oh, yeah, that was really special. Well, Musetta is a favorite role of hers, but Ira, I have to tell you, she was shocked when I told her she'd sung it 44 times on our stage. She started talking about why she loves playing this feisty, on-again, off-again girlfriend of the painter Marcello.
One of the things that I love about Musetta is that she calls it like it is. She's very clear, and she's fickle, and she wants to feel loved, and one of the ways she feels loved is from this kind of strong relationship with Marcello. And I don't think she ever, really has any interest in Alcindoro other than the kind of pain that it gives Marcello. I think everything that she does about Marcello and her love for him. But, she's someone who loves fiercely and with great depth. And she loves Mimi. And when she finds Mimi's in trouble, she loves her fiercely and with great depth and comes in and does everything she can to try and help her and save her. And that, I think, is what becomes very clear, especially the last act of the opera is, that she loves very deeply, and you see that.
Mm-hmm. Has your view of her changed over these years?
Yes, of course. I mean, the longer you live with something, I think the more it evolves. I still think of her as a little bit of a cheerleader. I think she enjoys having fun, and she wants life to be a party, and she wants to live it and be out there and be doing things. I think of her with a little bit more of, she has a little more of a softer side. She doesn't play with Marcello in the same kind of mean girl kind of way. I think of it more as an attention-seeking thing now than I did before.
Just as long as there's attention, and she doesn't really care if it's negative attention or positive attention,
Right.
As long as he's watching her.
As long as he's watching her, that's what, she needs.
Musetta is actually a role that's sung by quite a variety of voice types. What do you think gives it that kind of flexibility?
I think that this part is rangy, so you need to have a voice that has kind of a heftier middle voice for the last part of the opera. With the prayer, it's very low, and you need to be able to carry across the orchestra, but also it's quite high in the beginning, and it sits quite high. The tessitura is quite high, so it can work for many different voice types, but it takes a particular kind of voice to be able to do it, a rangy voice.
Does it fit your voice differently now than maybe when you first sang it?
Oh, definitely. Especially, I mean, you age as a person, so your voice changes that way. But I've just had 2 children, and so that certainly has changed my body and my voice in turn. And so my voice is fuller and kind of richer, but is actually a little higher than it was before. And so I'm approaching it slightly differently this time, and it feels equally as good. It's just feeling a little bit like a different part.
So Musetta is most famous for her very showy entrance and aria in Act 2, Quando men vo.
Yes.
How do you approach that? Kind of right off the bat, you have like 3 or 4 lines and then off you go.
Yeah. It's a little terrifying because it's like jumping on a moving carousel and you just have to be right on the path. It's so much fun because at the beginning of it, I'm supposed to remove my hat and then toss it. And one of the things I like to do is kind of play with who I toss it to. And once I tossed it and it landed on the lamp in the cafe, which was really, and everybody started laughing, which is not, what you want at the beginning of your aria.
It's like sinking a basket from half court. What's
Oh,
the
it's
likelihood
great.
of that?
It was
Yeah.
great. Also, she's a person that is the life of the party and would just jump in and take over the scene. And so that's what I like to do. I like to jump in and take over the scene and just have a great time. I love singing the aria. It's beautiful and it's playful, and I like being playful.
What are your thoughts about the enduring appeal of this opera?
It is a beautifully written opera, musically and dramatically. All the characters are fully formed, and you can follow their storylines individually and have a wonderful evening with any of them.
Mm-hmm.
But musically, it's just beautiful, and it's interesting and funny and fun and heartbreaking. It's got everything you want. It's got, the jealousy and rage and pain and, death and tremendous love. And it's a desert island piece for me. It only gets better with time.
That was soprano Susanna Phillips from a recent conversation I had with her about singing Musetta in Puccini's La Bohème. We're going to hear from her again in a few minutes, live backstage, where she's hosting today's HD transmission.
Musetta is a role people love to sing. There have been some big star turns, Ljuba Velic, Renata Scotto, because, I think also in just a few minutes of stage time, Puccini, we always talk about his economy of composition in La Bohème. A few minutes of stage time, he creates a whole rounded character with Musetta that gives you fun but gives you drama in the final act.
It was great when Susanna came up last week. She brought her 3-month-old baby daughter, Grace, with her. And there's nothing all of us on the 6th floor like better than a baby coming to visit, I have to say. Well, La Bohème will be our broadcast 2 weeks from today on February the 24th, when it will also be shown in movie theaters live in HD.
And we'll be back with Mary Jo Heath in a few moments while they have an advertising break for Act 2 of Donizetti's L'Elisir d'Amore. This is BBC Radio 3. I'm Chris Barrow. And as you may have picked up from previous seasons, there's sometimes a Met quiz in these programmes featuring questions supplied by listeners from all over the world. Now, it's worth submitting a question for a future broadcast because if yours is chosen, you'll earn yourself a gift package of opera recordings and publications. The address to write to is Metropolitan Quiz, Metropolitan Opera, 30 Lincoln Center Plaza, New York 10023 in the United States of America. And you can mention in your letter that you are listening to Radio 3. You can also submit questions online at the Radio 3 website. And while you're there, you can have a look at the Opera on 3 pages, which have the schedule of the upcoming Met broadcasts, and specifically the details of next week's performance of Wagner's Parsifal here on BBC Radio 3. And now it's time to return to the Met in New York.
Coming up soon, Act 2 of Donizetti's L'Elisir d'Amore. Here's a preview of next Saturday's matinee broadcast, live from the stage of the Metropolitan Opera. Parsifal, Wagner's unparalleled final achievement, based on legends of the Knights of the Holy Grail, transformed into a timeless spiritual epic of torment, healing, and rebirth. Klaus Florian Vogt stars as Parsifal, the one whom prophecy said would renew the land, but who must first feel other people's pain and sorrow. Evelyn Herlitzius is Kundry, the enigmatic wanderer, an agent of both destruction and salvation. Renee Papa is Gurnemanz, the veteran knight who, in the face of despair, maintains hope in an ancient promise. And Peter Mate is Amfortas, the sacred king whose body and realm are ravaged by a mysterious wound that will not heal. Met music director designate Yannick Nazé-Seguin leads the orchestra and chorus in this transcendent score. Wagner's Parsifal. Next Saturday's broadcast, live from the Met.
An opera like no other, and what a cast and maestro. Mary Jo, even hearing just those brief clips of the music, I feel myself entering a world where time and space are merged.
It really is entrancing, isn't it? It's a long opera, but every second is worth it. Parsifal will be our broadcast next Saturday. We're live at the Metropolitan Opera with Donizetti's L'Elixir d'Amore, the Elixir of Love. I'm Mary Jo Heath with commentator Ira Siff, and Act Two is going to begin in a little while, and soon we're going to go backstage again to where HD host Susanna Phillips will be speaking with the two Italian gentlemen in our cast, baritone Davide Luciano, who is singing the role of Belcore today, and bass Ildebrando d'Arcangelo, Dr. Dulcamara. But first, let me tell you about something that really fun that's going on. Here's a little setup for it. As you'll remember, when Act One ended, Adina announced she'd be marrying Sergeant Belcore. Well, Act Two opens at the pre-wedding feast. Now, there's usually real pasta and chicken on the banquet table. It's made fresh for every performance, and the cast sits and eats it on stage. Well, today, are they ever in for a big treat? Because the great Italian chef, Lidia Bastianich, has been in the kitchen preparing a special pasta dish just for this scene.
Yes, I understand she's calling it pasta d'amore, some pasta of love to go with the elixir.
But bum, is that what I do right then? That's right. Well, it's tagliatelle with mushrooms. And the recipe's on our website if you want to check that out. And I am looking forward to seeing Dr. Dulcamara chow down on it. Well, Bastianich is such a huge opera fan. We actually see her here in the audience all the time. And the Met is launching a new educational partnership with Italy. That's the name of her Italian culinary marketplace.
Yes, I've gone there for some wonderful, authentic Italian goodies.
Yeah, so have I too. It's kind of addictive to roam the aisles of all the various little shops in there, isn't it? Well, they'll be collaborating with the Met on all kinds of initiatives to spread the love of Italian music and food. There'll be cooking classes with Met artists, gourmet catering at Met outreach events. I can't wait. I might have to sneak into a few of them to see what it's like.
Indeed, me
Ira,
too.
I know that you go to Italy like every summer, so this must be terribly exciting for you. What are some of the things that you like to do while you're there?
Oh, God.
Or
Well,
eat,
you know, operatically speaking, I
Yeah?
love to go to, Verdi Land and have Grana Padano, the Parmigiano. I love to go to, if I go to the Puccini house in Torre del Lago.
Oh, right.
I will eat, pappardelle cinghiale, a local Tuscan dish. If I go south to Bellini land,
Right.
pasta con sarde, pasta with sardines, it's always fun to kind of experience and savor what they ate, too.
Right, no kidding. Well, you know what? A little bit about the opera and some of the characterful names in it, because that's pretty entertaining, too. The characters in this opera do have interesting names. Belcore means beautiful heart, and Dulcamara means bittersweet.
Yes, and dulcamara is also the name of a bittersweet nightshade, which is a traditional homeopathic remedy that's used to treat a whole host of ailments. I guess it's like calling him Dr. Probiotic in English. Nemorino's the name of an Italian diminutive of the Latin nemo, so it could be translated as little nobody.
Like Finding Nemo,
Yes.
our favorite little movie. It sort of does reflect the way Nemorino thinks of himself, at least at the beginning of the opera. Yes, well, we're just about to go backstage again, and Susanna Phillips is going to talk to our gentleman.
I'm joined now by two distinguished Italians in our cast, bass Ildebrando D'Arcangelo and baritone Davide Luciano. Hello, gentlemen.
Hello.
Ildebrando, here at the Met, you've sung Leporello and Don Giovanni, Figaro, The Nozze di Figaro, and now Dr. Dulcamara. He's such a con man. How do you see him?
I mean, it's a little bit Don Giovanni, but not the really Don Giovanni. Just, cool, fun, and try to make everything perfect for his business. So it's a little bit different from Don Giovanni, the comicity of Don Giovanni. So Dulcamara, it's more smart guy.
Davide, you're so dashing as Belcore. Is he a comic stereotype, or is there more to him?
So I think Belcore is the typical character of the Italian comedy. But I think also that you don't have to make him funny comic. I mean, if you make him a serious, gallant gentleman, he becomes funny, he becomes comic. Otherwise, if you want to be comic funny, he becomes too ridiculous. He becomes
almost like you're trying
more
too
ridiculous
hard.
than funny. So I think that's the point of Belcore, yes.
This opera is one of opera's greatest comedies. What's the technique performing opera on the operatic stage? Do you try to not play it too far? Do you try and be as distinguished as possible because that's funny, or?
So I think there isn't a special technique for the comedy, no? I think I think there is something important, like small things, like the timing, especially the timing in the small details. I think that's the important thing for me.
And today is your
and in general in the comedy, it's the timing. It's the timing and
right.
the small things, the small details.
Well, this opera is incredible timing in your own career. This is your Met debut, isn't it?
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you very
This must
much.
be very
Thank you.
exciting. And Ildebrando, the next scene begins with a wedding banquet, and you get to eat the food on the stage. What is that like? Is that hard to eat and sing?
Correct. I mean, I can't wait. Guys, it's time to eat now. So I will enjoy the wonderful,
The wonderful spread.
Exactly.
Oh,
So,
well-
I mean, I need to sing, so I need to manage both. I will sing.
Yeah.
Be careful.
Exactly. Well, you all look like you're having such a great time on stage. Toi, toi, toi
Thank
for
you
Act
so much.
Thank you so
Two,
much.
And thank you
you.
so much for speaking with me.
Thank you.
That was our HD host, Susanna Phillips, once again, and she was talking with Davide Luciano, our Sergeant Belcore, and Ildebrando D'Arcangelo, Dr. Dulcamara. Well, Act 2 will start in just a few minutes, so Ira, let's talk through what happens. As I said, we begin at the feast to celebrate Adina and Belcore's upcoming wedding.
And to entertain the guests, Dulcamara invites Adina to join him in singing a catchy barcarolle for two voices. Now, he plays the rich old Venetian Senator Tre Denti, or Three Teeth, who's trying to woo a beautiful lady gondolier.
Who's played by Adina, of course. Everyone is delighted, but Adina is irritated that Nemorino isn't there. She wants to see him suffer. So when Belcore hurries her off to sign the marriage contract, she stalls for time. Finally, Nemorino arrives. Dulcamara tells him the elixir will work faster if he drinks another bottle, but the poor boy has no more money. Belcore suggests he can raise a little cash, 20 scudi in fact, by enlisting in the army.
Their duet epitomizes each character. Belcore's wordy description of the glories of military life creates a rhythmical foundation, while Nemorino ardently sings that he would lay down his life for Adina.
Nemorino signs up, and Belcore promptly hands him his bonus, secretly pleased that he'll be out of the way, and Nemorino runs off to buy that potion. Just then, a bit of news reaches the girls of the village. Nemorino's uncle has died, but has left the boy his millions.
And this is a very funny, stealthy sounding chorus for the ladies who gossip about how Nemorino has suddenly been transformed into the town's most eligible bachelor.
And as soon as they spot him, they fall all over him. Naturally, Nemorino thinks it's the love potion at work. But Adina sees this and is devastated. Then Dulcamara tells her Nemorino joined the army just to buy some elixir, and Adina realizes he did it all for her.
Adina's second duet with Dulcamara begins lyrically as she reproaches herself for tormenting such a noble heart as Nemorino.
Yeah, Dulcamara misreads her distress for love sickness and suggests she could use some elixir. But Adina is determined to win back Nemorino on her own terms.
As she sings an effervescent tune filled with joy, at last fully realizing she's in love. She tells the doctor, with all due respect to his potion, her tender glance will be enough to melt Nemorino's heart. Dulcamara realizes he's met his match.
And almost immediately, a bassoon solo introduces one of the most haunting melodies ever written and one of the most famous tenor arias in opera, Una furtiva lagrima, that we heard Matthew and Susanna talking about. Nemorino describes the furtive tear he saw in Adina's eye as she watched him with the other girls.
Yes, as Matthew mentioned, the minor key of the first verse blossoms into major as the truth dawns on Nemorino. He sings Mama, which in Italian means she loves me. And the second verse is sensual. He expresses his profound desire to be close to her, their hearts beating together. The aria ends in a major key as he declares he could then die happy, wanting nothing more. It's an exquisite, tender, emotional awakening.
And it leaves us aching to see Nemorino and Adina together. She comes to tell him she's bought back his enlistment papers so he can stay here at home with all the people who love him.
And this aria is simple, but it's also ravishing. The delicate accompaniment hints at Adina's reticence. She still won't admit her own feelings.
And finally, Nemorino's frustration spills out. If she doesn't love him, he might as well go off and die in the army. So finally, Adina has to confess, Tamo, I love you.
Yes, and she says it over and over, ending in true bel canto fashion with a cadenza that soars up to a high C and then plunges down to octaves.
Yeah, she plants a big kiss on him, and Nemorino can only respond, oh, Gioia. When Belcore finds the two in each other's arms, he takes it in stride. Plenty of other women are after him. And Dulcamara, well, he takes all the credit. His elixir not only brings love, but riches too.
In addition to curing all those other ailments, which he recaps for the villagers, but this time to a reprise of that delightful barcarolle tune.
And we're all left a little tipsy when that tune keeps going around and around in our heads. Well, we will hear an order of vocal appearance. Ashley Emerson as Janetta, Davide Luciano as Belcore, and Ildebrando D'Arcangelo as Dulcamara. Pretty Yende is Adina, and Matthew Polenzani, Nemorino. Domingo Hindoyan conducts the Metropolitan Opera Orchestra and chorus. Now, the curtain's going to go up on a barn that's been festively decorated for Adina and Belcore's party. There's a brass band up in the hayloft and a long table in the middle, and that's where that pasta, the tagliatelle with mushrooms, is going to go. Adina wears a white lace dress, but she's still got on that good old top hat. Belcore is in a blue dress uniform trimmed in gold. And later in the act, the table and walls of the barn will disappear, leaving only a golden wheat field with a single tree silhouetted against a dark blue sky. And it's in this setting that Nemorino is going to sing his beautiful aria. So it looks like we have Maestro Hindoyan coming on. And he asks the orchestra to rise. So let's hear Act 2 of Donizetti's L'Elisir d'Amore.
cantarvi all'etta, uditemi signori, ho qua una canzonetta di fresco data fuori e vivace e graziosa, che gusto vi può dar, che la bella sposa mi voglia secondar. Sì, l'avremo casa, deve essere cosa là, e l'animo cambiare, e tutta come tal, e la nina gondoliera e il senator stridenti. Parcano due voci, attenti! Attenti! Io son ricco e tu sei bella, io ducati e viziai tu, perché a me sarai rubella, nina mia, che vuoi di più?
Vuoi onore un senatore, me l'amore supplicar, ma modesta condoliera, un par mio mi può sposar.
Io dal mio non più riguard, a me dice un senatore,
eccellenza troppo onor, io non merito un senatore.
Silenzio, zitti! Adorata barcarola, prendi l'oro e lasciamor, lieve questo, lieve vola, pesa quello e resta ognor.
Senatore, me l'amore supplicar, ma zanetta
idol mio non più rigor, a felice un senatore.
Eccellenza troppo onor, or felice un senator.
Bravo, bravo, la canzone cosa loro, meglio non concerno, il rispetto cantator. Il dottore Dulcamara, in ogni arte professor, sceglie Dulcamara, il rispetto professor. Quel notaro che viene a compier l'atto di mia felicità. Siamo benvenuto. Abbraccio e ti saluto, primo ufficial reclutator di me.
Giunto il notaro e ne morì non viene.
Andiamo, mia bella Venere, ma in quelle luci tenere qual veggo nuvoletta.
Niente, se egli non è presente, compete non mi pare mia vendetta.
Andiamo a segnar l'atto, il tempo affretta. Andiamo! 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 Andiamo a sonrisi a spose cose amali, e non siamo che stati i giorni per piacere. I giorni del piacere, i giorni del piacere. Le feste nuziali son piacevoli assai, ma quel che ne se mi dà maggior diletto è l'amabile vista del banchetto. Ho veduto il notaro, sì, l'ho veduto. Non va più speranza, ne morirò per te, spezzati il cuore. Idol mio non più rigor, ma bene a un tenato. Voi qui, dottore? Prima voluto a pranzo che siamo amini sposi, e mi diverto con questi avanti. Ed io son disperato, fuori di me son io, dottore. Ho duo per essere amato prima di domani, adesso su due piedi. Aspetto è matto, recipe l'elisir, e il colpo è fatto. E veramente amato sarò da lei. Da tutte io te prometto, se anticipar l'effetto dell'elisir tu vuoi, e bevine tosto un'altra dose. Io parto fra mezz'ora. Caro dottore, una bottiglia ancora. Ben volontieri, mi piace giovare bisognosi. Hai tu denaro? Ah, non ne ho più. Mio caro, la cosa cambia aspetto. A me verrai subito che ne avrai. Vieni a trovarmi qui presto alla pernice. Se hai tempo un quarto d'ora. Oh, me infelice. La donna è un animale stravagante davvero. Adina mamma, di sposarmi è contenta e di ferire pur vuol fino a stasera. Ecco il rivale, mi spezzerei la testa di mia mano. Ebbene, che cos'ha questo baggiano? Ehi, ehi! Quel giovinotto, cos'hai che ti disperi? Io mi dispero perché non ho denaro, né so dove trovarne. Esci munito, se denari non hai, fatti soldato, e 20 scudi avrai. adesso sul momento che parteggio e coi contatti gloria onore al reggimento. Ah, non è ambizione che seduce questo cor. Se l'amore in guarnigione non ti può mancare, amor, no, non ti può mancare, ai perigli della guerra io so ben che sposo sono, e ti scusi che domani la patria terra zio congiunti ahimè abbandono, e ben sonanti ma so pur che fuor di questa altra strada a me non resta per potere del contadina solo un giorno trionfa. E tamburo al suon mi pace tra le file e le bandiere, aggiutarci amor si piace con le piste vinampiere, con le piste chi un giorno tiene a dire. Sempre lieto, sempre caio, a più bello il pentinaio, di costanza non s'annoia, non si perde a sospirare, non si perde a sospirare. Fin la vita può lasciare. Vedi a te la vera gioia, bene gioia, la divinità, mia la vera gioia, di un giorno, la vera gioia, la vera vita, la vera gioia, accompagna la vera gioia, di un giorno, la vera gioia, la vita, accompagnami, si credi a me, la vita, la vita può lasciare, la vita può lasciare, si può lasciare, si può lasciare, si può scudi su due piedi e ben vada li prepara alla carta che tu vedi io di tutto devi segnar. Qua una croce. Dulcamara, volo tosto, a ricercar, volo tosto, a ricercar, a ricercar. Qua la mano giovinotto dell'acquisto di consuolo in complesso sopra e sotto. Tu mi sembri un buon figliolo, sarebbe sto caporale se me prendi ad esemplar. Sì, ho ingaggiato il mio rivale, anche questa è da contare. Ho ingaggiato il mio rivale, anche questa è da contare. Ho da col vino di fame, anche questa è da contar. Venga già col mio rival, anche questo è da contare. Non sai mai ridotto a tal passo, a tal partito. Tu non sai col cor sta sotto, quasi semplice vestito. Che a me ti fa male, non saper si immaginare. dell'elisir mirabile, venuto in accontanza, e mi promette il medico cortese ogni metà, cortese ogni metà, in me maggior del solito rinata è la speranza, l'effetto di quel farmaco già sentir si fa. Andiamo.
Senta benissima.
Giannetta.
A voi mi chiedo.
Ma cosa queste giovani? Ma cosa?
Caro quelle morire.
Ma cosa? Ah, capisco. E questa l'opera del magico signore. Capisco. E capisco. E bellissima! Dottor, dicesi vero, già proprio ciò si fatta, toccate nel cuore. E non so credere, mi piace.
Oh sì, davvero, è giovane che bella, e noi ricorderò.
Senza fallo.
E ballerete con me. Sì, con me. Sì. Io sono prima. Sì. Io non continuo. Seguite.
Piano.
Seguite.
Adesso. Te per la prima. Poi te. Poi te. Con tutto il sesso, di cuore del mio nome. Oh, c'era anch'essa, ma tutte.
Oh, me t'ho presa, un cor m'ha detto, per lusingato, da pochi studi, ti fai soldato, oh diamine, tu mi sbaglio, su l'oggetto, lo ricevo.
Parlate pure. Io già mi immagino che cosa bravi, già senti il parvo di corgiamani, le smanie palpiti di cuore amante, un solo istante tu devi provar, le smanie palpiti di cuore amante, un solo istante hai da provare, hai da provare, hai da provare, hai da provare.
Oh,
in tutta la gioia al mio comando io distillo il piacer, l'amor lambicco come l'acqua di rose. E ciò che adesso vi fa maravigliar del giovinotto, tutto portente gne e mio decotto. Pazzie, voi dite, incredula, pazzie. Sapete voi dell'alchimia il poter, il gran valore dell'elisir d'amore della regina Isotta. Isotta, io no d'ogni misura ed ogni cotta.
Che ascolta, e Annemarino, voi deste l'elisir.
E me lo chiese per ottener l'affetto di non so qual crudele.
E
Languiva, sospirava, senza ombra di speranza, e per avere una goccia del farmaco incantato, pente la libertà, si fe soldato.
quanto amore, io spietata, tormentare
Essa pure innamorata ha bisogno del liquor.
Dunque adesso innamorsi fortuna.
Tutto il sesso femminino è per giovane impazzato, tutto il sesso femminino è per giovane impazzato. Della checca tutte segue, tutte becca, egli il gallo della checca tutte segue, tutte becca. Essa pure innamorata, essa pure innamorata. Ha bisogno del liquor, ha bisogno del liquor. Egli il gallo della checca, egli il gallo della checca tutte segue, tutte becca, tutte segue, tutte becca. Essa pure innamorata, essa pure innamorata, ha bisogno di liquor. Egli il gallo della checca, della checca, tutti segui, tutti segui. Essa pure innamorata, 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 essa pure innamorata, ha bisogno del liquor. Ha bisogno del liquor. Ha bisogno del liquor. Ha bisogno del liquor. Bella Dina, un momento, io da presto, sulla testa, tu sei cotta, io l'argomento, a quell'aria, afflitta e mesta, se tu vuoi, e sulla testa schizzinosa, se tu vuoi c'ho la ricetta, e tu mal guarir potrà, se tu vuoi c'ho la ricetta, e tu mal guarir potrà, se tu vuoi c'ho la ricetta che tu mal guarir potrà, se tu vuoi c'ho la ricetta che tu mal guarir potrà, se tu vuoi c'ho la ricetta che tu mal guarir potrà.
Dottor, sarà perfetto, ma per me virtù non ha.
Vuoi vederti mille amanti spasimar languire al piede?
Saprete vagamente, ma come sorge.
Render voi gelose e pazze, donne del dover ragazze.
Non mi aspetta, non mi piace, di tornare a noi la pace.
Conquistar vorresti un ricco.
Di ricchezze non mi impecco.
Una cantina, una marchesina.
Non avevo che nel marino.
Prendi sulla mia ricetta.
Non sarà perfetto.
E l'effetto ti farà.
Non mi vedo, non.
Prendi solo la mia ricetta che l'effetto ti farà. potresti con di negare il suo valore.
Io rispetto Donizetti, ma per nevina maggiore ne morei lasciata ogni altra, tutto mio sarà.
Ah, dottore, troppo scaltra, più di te coste ne sa, di più di te coste ne sa, di più di te coste ne sa. Sì, sì.
Buona te raccontina, mi sorriso un'occorrenza, ma ce l'ho che non sostengo, ma morì chi più ti sprezza, ne vedo che con te pago, resi con te sposi e amanti, e con me morremo, ne potrò da me fuggire, no! Ma ricetto il mio visino, in questo chiede l'esir. Una tenera
Ah, lo vedo.
sorriso
Riconcella.
e
Dice più dell'arte mia.
ne vedute tanti
Riconcella.
resi con te sposi e
Riconcella.
che ne con me morremo,
Ah,
ne potrò da me fuggire,
dottore, briconcella, briconcella, questa bocca così bella e la buona spezzeria. Riconcella. Sì, lo vedo, briconcella, ne sei più dell'arte mia. Questa bocca così bella e la buona spezzeria. All'amico da Venello che più di Vergibello. Mi facciamo che vuoi per bruciare i cieli, per bruciare i cieli. Ma vorrei cambiare coi tuoi i miei vasi e Ah, lo vedo. Riconcella. Dice più dell'arte mia. Riconcella. Riconcella. Ah, dottore, sì, lo vedo, briconcella, briconcella, questa bocca è così bella e la buona spezzeria. Sia e la brinqueda e fornella. Riconcella. Sì, vorrei cambiare coi tuoi i miei vasi, sì, vorrei cambiare coi tuoi i miei vasi, suoi sospir gelo si può morir. Di più non chiedo, non chiedo, ma gelo si può morir. Di più non chiedo, non chiedo, si può morir. Eccola, o quale accresce beltà l'amor nascente. A farli indifferente si seguiti così, finché non viene ella a spiegarsi.
Marino, che bene! Dimmi, perché partire? Perché farti soldato irrisoluto?
Perché ho voluto tentar, si con tal mezzo il mio destino io potea migliorar.
La tua persona, la tua vita ci è cara. Io ricombrai il fattore contratto da bel cuore.
Voi stessa è naturale opera e d'amore. si spiega che mi lasciate.
Io sì.
Null'altro a dirmi avete.
Null'altro.
Ebbene, tenete! Poiché non sono amato, voglio morir soldato. Poiché non sono amato, voglio morir soldato. Non va per me più pace, se mi ingannò il dottor, se mi ingannò il dottor. Io voglio morir soldato, se mi ingannò il dottor. Non mi ingannò il dottor, ma gioia inesprimi. Mi presento.
E lei così bel cuore, e convien darsi pace non è fatto, e il mio sposo, quel che fatto.
È fatto. Tientelo pur, briccola, peggio per te. Pieno di donne il mondo, e mille ne otterrà nel cuore. E le darà questo elisir d'amore. Caro dottor, beligio son per voi.
Per me, sappiate che Nemorino è divenuto a un tratto il più ricco castaldo del villaggio, poiché morto è lo zio.
Morto lo zio!
Io lo sapevo!
Lo sapeva anch'io, ma quel che non sapete ne potreste saper. Egli è che questo sovrumano elisir può in un momento non solo rimediare al mal d'amore, arricchire gli spiantati o il gran di cuore. E corregge ogni difetto, ogni vizio di natura, e fornisce di belletto la più brutta creatura. Camminare fa le rozze, schiaccia gobbie, appiana bozze, ogni incomodo tumore copre sì che più non v'è. Egli è uno fa seducente pei guardiani scrupolosi, è un sonnifero eccellente per le vecchie pei gelosi, dà coraggio alle figliuole, campa ora a dormir sole. Svegliarino è per l'amore più potente del caffè. Prediletti dalle stelle, io vi lascio un gran tesoro, tutto in lui salute belle, allegria, fortuna ed oro. Rinverdite, rifiorite, impinguate, t'arripite,